The talk all offseason was about the Bills going all in, and a lot of that discussion centered around the acquisition of future Hall of Famer Von Miller. Miller has raised the level of play of just about every one of the players on the defensive side of the ball. But the signing of defensive tackles Daquan Jones, Jordan Phillips, and Tim Settle Jr. may be making an even bigger impact on the Bills' second-ranked defense. Playing defensive tackle in the Bills' defense isn't sexy. It's a position that may be the most selfless position on the team. They aren't counted on to be playmakers on every single play. More times than not, their role is simply to do their 111th, with very few accolades. In this video, I'm going to show you how important the signing of Jones, Phillips, and Settle has been. And that's because their consistency has helped their teammates flourish. All three defenders are wide bodies, quick off the ball, country strong, and very, very difficult to move. They are the first line of defense when teams want to run the ball. They set the tone because they are the guys that are responsible for controlling the line of scrimmage. Controlling the line of scrimmage is done in a multitude of ways. Sometimes it's being disruptive or a nuisance at the line of scrimmage so that a blocker can't climb to the next level in time to pick up his assignment. Sometimes a defensive tackle is responsible for staying home, taking on double teams so that others can go get the ball. And other times the big fellas are responsible for maintaining their gap and simply putting their eyes in the gap to deter the entry of the running back. No one has done this as well or as consistently as Jones. Look at how the wily veteran welcomes the double team. He immediately rips his arm into the center's armpit, but then positions most of his body and force in front of the guard to wall him off from immediately climbing. He doesn't surrender ground, which allows Edmonds to cleanly come downhill and insert into his gap. This has led to a lot of stalemates at the line of scrimmage and has forced backs to choose a different rushing lane, and by then, the Bills rally and tackle. On this play, Jones sets a strong, short edge by winning first touch, stacking the guard, and getting his eyes in his gap. At the same time, Phillips holds his ground against a combination block. He helps shrink the inside lane, and that puts several others in striking distance in the lane behind Phillips, where the inside zone run normally hits. Henry recognizes it and looks for a different escape lane, but Rousseau and Phillips are there to shut the play down. On this play from the Ravens game, the Bills send Hamlin on a run blitz, with Settle and Jones asked to just leverage their gap opposite the blitz. Look at how well Settle recognizes where the block is coming from and stacks the lineman. Jones once again sets a tight, short edge, which bottles up the runner. Hill is forced to cut up inside, right into the arms of Settle. Anchoring and defeating combination blocks are taught differently by each team. Some teams teach defensive linemen to drop the near knee when they see combination blocks unfolding, like you see here.
What he's really doing is he's putting his hip towards the blocker, as you can see in this clip, yet he's throwing his inside knee down and spiking it into the ground while turning his shoulder, giving a small target area for that double team block and allowing him to hold his ground right on the line of scrimmage. He stays real strong, reduce his shoulder, and watch him drive that knee into the ground. What he's trying to do is make a pile and make sure he doesn't get driven back. So he engages the blocker right on him, feels the double team, swing the hips, drive that knee and shoulder into the ground. When the double team blocker leaves, he's going to release. So again, we'll see hit, turn, he drops his shoulder, creates a small space and tries to hold the line of scrimmage. But when our double team blocker releases to go get the linebacker, our defensive lineman pops back up, splits that gap and attacks into the line of scrimmage. Hold the double team, feel the blocker leave, get up, power through.
But the Bills are an attacking one-gap defensive unit. They don't ask their linemen to two-gap. They want their defensive tackles to be disruptive, attack upfield in their gap, then hold the line when the run comes. If they do that correctly, they will create run-throughs for linebackers and secondary defenders. Jones, Phillips, and Settle are so strong that they don't have to drop that near knee. They position their body to absorb the block, but remain upright and in the play. Watch Jones and Phillips keep Edmonds and Milano clean, especially Phillips. He prevents the tackle from climbing to Edmonds, and kudos to Basham on the play as well. He was also critical to the success of this play. Their sheer size allows them to hold their ground against combination blocks, and it can cause confusion among the linemen on who should climb to the linebackers. Sometimes linemen aren't even able to scoop to the next level. Look at that positioning by Settle. Oliver chases Harris wide, and Milano is clear to shoot the gap to wrap up the running back. Understanding who the driver is or what lineman is responsible for getting the sled going in these combination blocks is half the battle when anchoring. and these guys are able to absorb that force with their upper and lower body. Watch how Phillips plays into the guard, shrinks his blocking area, and steps back with his right foot to anchor as a right tackle comes to create vertical displacement. The result is a 2-on-1 stalemate at the line of scrimmage. It creates an easy read for Poe to click and close. The interior defensive linemen do a great job of disrupting the offense's rhythm and play calling. Unfortunately, broadcast footage doesn't give viewers the best angle at interior defensive line play. But when you watch the All-22, you can see them routinely controlling the middle of the line of scrimmage. Similar to the call earlier in this breakdown, the Bills send Hamlin on a run blitz. This time, Jones is a spiker. His job, along with Shaq Lawson, is to slant inside to disrupt the frontside blocking. On the snap, Jones wins across the face of the center and is standing all alone in the A-gap. He occupies the center and the lead blocker. Now look at Phillips and the other Bills for that matter. They are all leveraging their gaps. Harris has nowhere to go and is stopped for the loss. For those that don't know, this is what run gap integrity looks like. And this is how they held Derrick Henry to 1.9 yards per attempt and Harris to 1.8 yards per attempt. But a trait that gets lost in evaluation of defensive tackles is tracking. The Bills' interior defenders have done a phenomenal job at remaining stout at the line of scrimmage, but also tracking the ball carrier. Their ability to occupy linemen, then disengage and make the tackle, is incredibly important when you consider how often the Bills play with a light box. These hog mollies seem to always be around the ball when the running back is looking to cut upfield. Jones leads all defensive tackles on the Bills in run tackles with 13, which includes 8 run stops. Phillips has 6 tackles with 4 run stops, and Settle 3 tackles with 3 run stops. And on any given play, they can line up at 1 or 3 technique, which is why the rotation among those guys hasn't led to a drop-off during Ed Oliver's injury. On this play, Phillips is at nose tackle, and he stands up the early combo block, with Jones playing the 3 technique. As the back cuts the mid-zone run inside, both defensive tackles disengage to make the tackle. Later in the drive, the Bills are in their nickel over G front, so Phillips, the 3 tech, is to the strength of the formation. Jones is to the weak side in a 2-eye technique, just inside the guard. On the snap, Phillips occupies 2, as Jones only gets a 1-on-1 with the center climbing. Jones maintains his leverage and control on the lineman until the back enters the line of scrimmage. Look how easy Settle and Jones make it on the Bills linebackers. Jones fires into the A-gap, holds his ground, then disengages when the back commits to Tyrell Dodson's gap. Just another great example of the importance of the interior defensive line play to the Bills' 2-high defense. This run stop by Jones may be my favorite play by him so far. Jones is a shade nose tackle, and the Bills have him tilted to make the combo block that much more difficult. On the snap, Jones gets hand leverage on the center, but the guard does a great job of slamming Jones over to help the center gain leverage. But Jones's hand placement, feet, and tracking are just too damn good. He immediately ricochets back into the gap to make the stop. But what has been a pleasant surprise is how effective Jones has rushed the passer. According to Pro Football Focus, Jones has 9 total pressures, including 3 sacks. Much like his run defense, his football IQ, quickness, and strength help him consistently collapse the depth of the pocket, which is pretty remarkable considering he is doubled at a higher rate than Aaron Donald and winning at an incredibly high rate as well. Jones understands how to beat down the edges of pass protection or the man in front of him, and typically he does it with power. If a lineman isn't square on contact, Jones uses his raw strength to pry open the door even more. And with his hand placement and ability to generate power from his lower body to his hands, it's very difficult for linemen to get in position to anchor down. Jones can single-handedly erase the depth of the pocket that the interior offensive linemen are responsible for. But it isn't just his strength. He understands pass protections, especially those situations where he knows that based on the protection, he may have 2-way goes. Like this play against the Steelers. With the Bills showing blitz, the Steelers are forced into a man protection. 5 linemen responsible for 5 rushers. So Jones has a 1-on-1 with the center, but he has 2 lanes he can rush into. The center slides to Jones, but Jones attacks the opposite A-gap, forcing the center to power step to his left. Jones gets into the center's kitchen, so the center anchors down. And that's when Jones uses the Reggie White hump move to throw the center. In the same game, the Bills align Jones tight to the center's snapping hand. So on the snap, the center has to snap and kick slide to Jones, which is very difficult because the veteran defensive lineman can win the edge quickly off the snap and gain leverage simultaneously. Jones uses a push-pull to throw the center off balance, and he meets teammate Von Miller at the quarterback for the sack. Defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier understands how to use Jones to set up others. Jones is used as a penetrator, the guy that leads off pass rush games, responsible for overwhelming the pass off between two linemen so that the looper can get a clean lane to the quarterback. Watch Settle occupy the center so that Jones and Rousseau could run this game against the Ravens. The right guard has to kick out to meet Jones because he's in a wide alignment. On contact, the guard's hips are already open, and Jones is already in a dominant power rush position. He overwhelms the guard and opens up the A-gap corridor for Rousseau to loop inside. Rousseau finishes, but with the assist from Jones and Epinesa. Frazier has tweaked some of his alignments of his defensive tackles to stress pass protections. He has been a lot more proactive and aggressive. Simple tweaks like putting the athletic defensive tackles out wide, or something as simple as widening their alignment, which creates stress on the kick slides by linemen. Here you see Phillips and Jones are tasked with collapsing the field side of the pocket with Miller and Rousseau opposite them, alone to win their one-on-ones. Look at how wide Phillips is aligned. He's outside the tackle in a 5 technique. This forces the guard to have to kick slide out wide to him. And if that guy isn't able to transition from finesse to power in order to anchor down, Phillips can put him on skates. Look how Phillips uses his power to open up the hips of the offensive lineman. Once the door is open, he steps through it. He makes it look so easy. He was in the zone against the Rams. On this QB hit, he used a cross chop to light up the QB. He exploded off the ball, but the left guard didn't want Phillips to attack through the A-gap, so the guard punched out with his inside hand. Phillips immediately recognized that the guard was responsible for the gap and countered with a cross chop, and then pinned the guard's hand to his body to clear the blocker, and then make Stafford pay. When defensive tackles can push the pocket into the QB's lap, it makes your edge rush that much better. This sort of push up the middle has been missed the last couple years. Collapsing the middle of the pocket makes it difficult for quarterbacks to step up into the pocket. So the Bills' edge rushers are now winning outside, and the QB rarely has anywhere to go, thanks to the big guys inside. Von Miller has made a tremendous impact on the defense. He currently leads with 26 total pressures, including 6 sacks, and sits 8th overall in ESPN's pass rush win rate. But a lot of those wins are because the Bills' defensive tackles have been such a force. They are commanding more double teams and or causing linemen to be late helping outside. With Ed Oliver back in the lineup, the Bills' 4-man rotation inside is the best in the league. And if they continue to play with the consistency shown over the first 6 games, this defense may continue to set the table for a championship season. Thanks for tuning in to this breakdown. If you guys appreciated that breakdown, make sure to subscribe to the Cover One YouTube channel. But more importantly, get to the cover1.football website to become an insider. If you sign up for our One Pass subscription on the cover1.football website, you're going to get a lot of content, behind the scenes type content, scheme and player breakdowns, scouting reports. You're going to have access to the Slack channel, our Cover One community, where we talk football all day, every day. And you're going to get access to our contributors. You're able to engage with them on a daily basis all day. And there's a lot of things that we're going to be putting out to our insiders throughout the season. So if you appreciated this content, this breakdown, you're going to get even more as an insider. So make your play for $57 for the year for all of the content that we provide to our insiders. And thank you again for joining me in the film room.